What's up, guys? It's the League Dad. Welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast, a podcast for casual leaguers. And today we are talking about League, but not the game you might be thinking of. No, we are talking about TeamFight Tactics, the newest game mode by Riot Games. And I gotta be honest, I did not think this was a game mode that I would find any interest in, but I have found myself hooked. And I am joined today by other people who have found themselves hooked by the game. We've got Nighthawk, we got Mitchell, and we have Pooty all here, and we're here to discuss this new game mode. So if you've never played it before, if maybe you're curious about it, I want to learn a little bit more. Then this podcast, this episode specifically, will be great. The plan is that when we have these segments, we'll be talking more about strategies, compositions, maybe some tier lists. But for today, we're basically just going to talk about an introduction, what it is, how you can get started in it, and that sort of thing. And, you know, try it out. That's all I got to say is I was hesitant. I played one game, and now I'm hooked. So, guys, what are your how are your experiences? I haven't really talked to you guys as far as like how you've been enjoying the game, but give me a brief history on how you guys got hooked. And we'll start with you, Nighthawk, and we'll just go around.
So I actually have a lot of experience with this genre of games. I played a lot of auto chess when it first came out. I have about 150 hours in that. And
Nice.
for those not familiar, auto chess was a mod for Dota that all of these auto battlers are kind of based off of. So transitioning from that into a game like League, which I play a ton of, was a pretty cool transition to see them actually focus on, because Riot has never really made another game before.
Yeah,
They've sort of dabbled in it, but this is basically the first new game that Riot has ever made. So it was really cool that they decided to jump on this train, because I really enjoy the genre.
So now, since you play both, what do you think? What do you seem to enjoy more at the moment? Since you kind of have two games under your belt in this genre.
I definitely think League TFT is the most approachable auto battler on the market right now. You have Dota Underlords, you have the one from Dota Studios, which is releasing on Epic Store this week, and then you have TeamFight Tactics. Those are the main three. You have the mod if anyone still plays that, but not really. TFT, obviously, it comes out of League, so anyone who already plays League has a little bit of advanced knowledge on how to play it, because the champions will at least be familiar to you. Yep. If you don't know anything about Dota, Underlords is very confusing. The items are new, the champions are new, some of the mechanics are new. So I think Teamfight Tactics is honestly the most approachable. It seems like one of the most in-depth at the moment, and one of the most one of the least RNG heavy. At least that's from what I've seen.
Wow, I already thought it was RNG heavy. I mean, this is my first kind, so
it is RNG focused, but the other two seem to be even slightly heavier RNG focused.
Wow, that must be frustrating. Well, I got to say that, like, I have no experience with auto chess. I'd heard about it. I know a lot of people were really hyped up about it. So when this was announced that it was coming out, I was like, whatever, right? But I do have to say that the fact that it's league-based, and I know the champions, I know kind of what, I know what items do, and they're similar, different, a little bit different in the game, but have similar mechanics, most of them. It kind of helps, and so you feel like you got a leg up already started. And so this was a nice introduction into this genre of kind of like the auto battler system. What about you, Mitchell? What was your how'd you get introduced to Teamfight Tactics?
Same way. I also played a lot of auto chess, and I agree. Like, I don't play Dota too very much, like just a little bit. So I knew that anti-mage like stole mana and stuff, just like Kassadin. But then beyond that, I was like, who are all these things? What do they do? I don't know what these names are. What are these items? Is there an items list? Like, because even something that annoys me about both modes is that there isn't. You have to go to third-party resources.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's like, what's up with that? Just tell me. So League easier just because like the champions and items already. Like Findy Edge, 2 BF swords. That just kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I really liked Dota. I actually they're pretty different, right? Because the carousel is obviously a big difference, but also how the characters, the units move in Dota. They move like chess pieces. So like some of them like they like jump in like certain like increments of like 3, Where in this one they just hop on one little
Yep.
spot each time. So I don't know. It's just different. I think
Yeah.
it's you know, Teamfight Tactics. There's a lot of bugs you got to work through, but I feel
Sure,
like once all the bugs are kind of meshed out and it feels better, I feel like Teamfight Tactics is definitely like the much more solid and like.
And I feel like yes, I have seen some of the bugs, and sometimes it gets annoying because my champ will just stand there and do nothing, or you know, whatever. But you know, I think for the most part, it's still a fun game mode, and I think that's what's really nice about it. What about you, Pooty? How'd you get introduced to Teamfight Tactics?
I mean, with the insurgence of the auto chess genre, I kind of hesitated to jump into it because I was like, I'm already spending so much time on this one MOBA, and then I have to start learning a whole new one just to like get all the pieces together. So I didn't make the jump initially, but when League or Riot announced that they would make Teamfight Tactics, I was like, all right, now I gotta get in. Now I have to commit to playing it, and I got really excited about it. And basically, eventually, I moved on from, or I when it released onto an A. I went from EU, made an NA account just so I could play one day earlier.
Nice.
And we played like with like 3 or 4 of my friends. We played like the entire night through.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
It was great fun. It was a great head start on the rest of EU. I remember all of the lobbies just being filled with EU people because everyone was just went over. EU. But I've been playing it like at least 10 games a day. Yeah. If not
so
more.
Are you guys? Here's a question for you guys, because I know this is true for me. I've been playing TFT pretty much exclusively, more so than regular League itself. Is the same true for you guys, or is it just me right now? You guys doing the same thing?
I haven't really touched regular League in a few weeks.
Right. Yeah. It's true. Yeah, me too. I've been just spamming it. I think you've been playing both.
Some normals, but
yeah, I've been playing Kiana and Mordekaiser. Just they're OP.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you know, I think the thing is like, you know, with and that's actually funny that you mentioned Kiana. I feel like because of the whole TFT hype, I barely heard anything. I just watched the champion trailer like yesterday, but yeah. Anyways, it's just like. It looks fun because of the different elements and mechanics with that, but
she's basically a collie. It's kind of stupid. Like she's pretty much a collie with like a big like, AoE stun. That's how it feels to me. Oh my
goodness, that's crazy. Yeah, and that's how long I haven't played regular League, is I haven't even tried this champion yet. But yeah, with Teamfight Tactics, I don't know. There's so many things. So you might be wondering if you're listening to this. Okay, well, why would I want to play this? I play League. I love League. Look, I am with you. I love League still. I play League. I played League a lot right now. The past few days, though, I've just been immersing myself in Teamfight Tactics. And so one of the reasons you might want to try Teamfight Tactics is, one, it's a great break from regular League. If you feel like you've just been grinding ranked or it's becoming really like grind mode, try a game of TFT because it's a nice little break. There's some similarities. And I gotta be honest, I don't get tilted as much because, you know, although you're relying on RNG, you're not relying on teammates. So you're just, you can get mad at the computer, but to be honest, you don't have to like worry about other people, you know, depending on other people, because to be honest, League is probably the biggest RNG that you have to face, hoping to get 4 good teammates. So that's another reason why you might want to try it, is that you can kind of play it solo, but you can play it with friends and get on Discord and just have a blast, kind of like a good party game. We've done that a few times. I know Mitchell with Kevin and a bunch of other people, and that's been a blast. But there's just so many things to learn also. And so I think if you play League, you will be pleasantly surprised, even if this doesn't seem like a genre that you might be interested in. I would highly recommend trying it out. So what I wanted to do then is, first, let's talk about what is this game, right? So we've mentioned it. It kind of goes on this, it's like an auto battler genre, and we say auto chess. It's kind of it's not really super new, but if I had to equate it to something, it reminds me a lot of like card games that played like a draft mode. So something like Magic the Gathering draft, where you have kind of a pool of cards or champions in this case that you can pick. Everybody's kind of picking from them, and then you're trying to build the best possible deck, or in this case, team, and then battle it out on on the board, right? And so that's kind of in a nutshell what it seems to be, and you got to spend resources and that sort of thing. So that's what it is essentially. And with all games like that, you do have to depend a little bit on some randomness. But if you guys had to give one tip, I guess, when you first started playing TFT, or even just, auto chess or whatever, what's the one tip that you would recommend for people when they get started? Maybe one thing to avoid, no noob traps to get in. That way they can at least have good knowledge of what to expect and what to do when they get into their first game. So let's start with you, Nighthawk.
The biggest one I feel like most of my friends fall into early is the re-rolling button. I feel like 99% of the strategies, and now there are certain strategies where you do want to re-roll early, but most strategies, I would say hold off on that re-roll button. Saving your money is very important. Saving up to 50 gold is very easy to do as long as you aren't re-rolling. So buy what units you want to buy, but don't re-roll at least that often early game. I would say don't re-roll at all, but sometimes it's not possible. I would say you can probably start to reroll around level 6 or 7 is where I would say that's like the ideal place.
Nice. Okay. What about you, Mitchell?
I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to shout out the nerd strat. Lose to win.
Yeah, it's kind of legitimate. I mean, I gotta be honest.
It's a legit strat. Lose to win is not bad. The carousel in this game is it's based on who first carousel pick is based on who has the lowest health, and those are very powerful turns. You definitely want to aim for like really good items. Yeah. So using a third-party website, figure out what all the good items are. I use tftactics.gg, I think, and that is a tier list.
Mobilytics has a good one as well. Yep.
And you just want to make sure you get good items in the beginning. Items are super OP, and you want to just stick to if you're losing, you just want to stick to losing and make sure you're not losing by a huge margin. But if you're going down to like 50, 40 HP, there's still a large window for you to come back. Yeah. And because your win streaks or lose streaks, you get extra gold based on how many times you win in a row or how many times you lose in a row. If you start losing, it's actually just correct. Just keep losing. I think that's really good because it's almost like a management of your health bar too, right? Because going a little bit low in health is sometimes to your advantage because you get access to items. You have first priority or earlier priority. Yeah. So what were you gonna say, Nighthawk?
Losing early game is like the ideal time to lose. One, the units you're fighting are lower level, so you take less damage from them, and then there's also less units you're fighting. So if you're gonna lose it all, losing early is fine. Late game, you do not want to lose because late game you'll be taking something like 20 to 30 damage a turn, which will just knock you out like that. So the lose to win strat is very risky, but I think it's very fun too.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. It's kind of like managing, right? It's managing your health because again, you don't want to lose too much. You kind of want to work with what you have. But not get dumpstered so hard that it's impossible to come back, right? But it does have some advantages, yeah. So I think that's a really good tip.
You don't want to opt to it. Yeah, you don't want to opt into it every game. You don't want to go into every game and be like, I'm just gonna lose. Like, if it happens to you, then you like you steer into it. But you don't just like go for it.
Good point. Okay. What about you, Pooty? Any tips? Your most important tip to somebody who's brand new to the game?
My most important tip would be very simply to experiment with different comps and different strategies and stuff. The game is far from solved. We have no clue what the meta is looking like. Riot's been balancing very actively stuff like the Yasuo that recently popped up. The Yasuo strat got nerfed within 24 hours, so balance keeps changing. Keep experimenting with stuff. I heard the Yordle comp was really good within the recent balance patches they did today. And it might get nerfed tomorrow already. So keep trying stuff, keep doing stuff, and
Yeah, I would say that that's really good because I know when I first started playing, my first reaction was, let me look up the best comp or the best, tier list and let me just go for that. And it's okay to have kind of a framework of what you would like to do, but this game is all about thinking on your feet, right? Which is great. Yeah. There's so many times I can't tell you where decision making is the most important aspect of this game, right? You have to make the best decisions with what you have. And it's not always going to work out, but you got to give yourself the best possible shot. And so I think that's such great advice is that have an idea, especially as you're getting new champs and what you're able to draw, and work your comp around that, work your items around what you're getting, because item RNG it can be awesome and it can be totally devastating because, as Mitchell said, items are so important in this game. And so one of the things I wanted to mention also is that with your first carousel, don't necessarily look for the champion per se to what you want. More so look for the item component that you really want, because items are very they don't come often, right? So you get champions, you can see them every round, but items only come at certain rounds during the carousel or when you face like an NPC, right? And then after that, you get items. And that's so it's limited on what you get. And so you want to make sure that every chance you have to get an item, you want to make sure you're doing that. So that would be a tip for me. Is on the carousel, make sure you go for an item first. As far as re-rolling, you guys might not know what that means yet if you've never played it, but re-rolling is basically you'll get a bunch of champions every round to look at and see what you want to get. You have the option to re-roll, but it costs money. And so what we were saying is that you have to learn when to do that and when not to do that, because there are strategies of doing that and strategies to hold it off and save your gold. Mitchell, do you have something to say?
Oh yeah, recurve bow is probably the most OP like first carousel item. Just mention.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that. I would say recurve bow. Honestly, I think spatula is pretty good.
Yeah, spatula
is pretty good. I mean, most of the items it builds into are poop, but if you get that force of nature, that's a really strong item to get. It basically lets you add another unit to the board, which is great.
And if you get like the right synergies with your classes,
exactly.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
Super
yeah. Exactly. So if you're trying to build, like, for example, glacials or something, and you have like a really strong ranger that's not a glacial, well, if you get a frozen mallet, now you've turned your ranger into a glacial. Now that makes your 6th ranger or whatever it is, and so or your 6th glacial, and so now you have like the buff for it. So the whole idea is that all the champions are made up of different I guess orders or origins and that sort of thing, and so you're trying to combine these units to get the most synergies out of that, because if you have a certain amount if you meet the criteria for these things, then you get bonuses. And so that's something to pay attention to as you're going. And I think what it does pretty well is that, at least on the side of the game, as you're playing, it tells you how many champs you have and it tells you how many champs you have of each type, I guess, and like how many are on the field. And so you kind of know, like, okay, I only need one more champ to get this bonus and that sort of thing. So it kind of helps you in that sense. Would you guys say that what would you guys, when we talk about economy here, like, so I think we may not have mentioned, but you get gold every round, right? And then there's certain things that add on top of that to where you get more gold. One is win-loss streak. Another one is passive income or passive interest. So for every 10 gold you have, when the next round starts, you get an extra piece of gold for that. What else am I missing? There's another thing.
If you win, you get a 1 gold automatically.
Win, yep. Okay, and you get 1 gold automatically. That's right.
There's a synergy in the game called Pirates that every time you fight a player, you get a random amount of gold between 0 and 4.
Correct.
Yeah,
so
powerful in like the mid game.
Exactly. And so that's another thing that you really got to play with, is just like every card game or sort of thing like that, you have resources, right? And so when you get to 50 gold, you get 5. So 5 is the max interest you can get, right? And then you start to see that gold start to snowball. So there's this idea too of some people not rolling early, saving their gold and trying to get to that 50, and then compounding that interest and then really start to play from there. Other people like to get to a certain point and then they re-roll as many times, because there's certain percentages when you can get, these 1-star champs or tier 1 champs, and people try to re-roll that. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you guys play as far as with your economy? Give me your thoughts on, do you like to play early game economy, where you're re-rolling constantly trying to build up these tier 1 units into 2 stars, or do you like to hold off, wait till you get to like 50 gold and then start to look at the higher cost units and that sort of thing? Let me start with you, Nighthawk.
I'm usually pretty conservative in terms of what I do. I like to save money. I think it's the way I played auto chess, and I'm not sure if it's the strongest way to play TFT, because I actually have only won like 4 or 5 games out of like the 50 or 60 I've played so far. But I really do like playing a very conservative, save money, roll for units over 50 gold type of play style.
Nice.
Usually the comps I'm finding the most success with are stuff that you can kind of build over time, where you don't have to get to that 6 unit comp to get the power. Like there's a comp in the game called Nobles, which you can only finish with a 5-star unit, Kale. Yeah. So you're basically stuck on a very subpar league, subpar composition until you get that 5th gold unit, and it's pretty hard to get her before level 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Unless you get very lucky on the carousel. So I like building comps that scale well. Wild, Shapeshifter, Sorcerers, Void's fairly easy to get early. Brawlers are good. Just anything that you can get early game and sort of build it into a better comp late game is, I think, in my opinion, one of the better ways to play. And there's always a time where building for Exodia, like the full 4 ninja comp or the level comp, will be like the best play, and it's definitely really fun, but I don't think it's the safest play.
Oh, it feels good though. It feels good if you can get, like, when you can get it finally activated and you're like down to like 10 health and people think, oh, he's out, but then all of a sudden your comp goes online, you're just wrecking everybody. It's a great feeling, but again, it's risky because you got to watch your health. Mitchell, what about you? Are you more of a like early game, let me just get as many 1-star units as I can and level them up, or what do you do?
Yeah, so what I do is like I take a look at like the hand I'm dealt, what I got in the carousel. If almost all the time I just pick early game stuff anyway, so it works out for me. So I go for like the strongest early game stuff. Like I usually go for like double knight synergy or wild synergy, maybe assassin synergy. And I just pretty much go to snowball because, if you're on a win streak, not only do you get the win streak gold, but you also get +1 gold every time you win, and you get to save all your life. So I usually just go for hard early game strat. And then this is what I learned from auto chess. It took me so long to do this, but then I just sell my stuff. Like,
that's a good,
my tier 2 1 cost units, they sell for 3 gold just as much as they cost to make. So you just sell those, and then you go for the late game comp, or you just keep them. Assassins are really, really strong in the early game and the late game. So 3 assassins is pretty good in the early game, and the 6 assassins are really good in the late game. So I feel like it's a pretty solid strategy. I've been doing the thing. If I have a lot of 1 cost units, like let's say I have like 5 to 6 1-cost units, so like maybe 2 of the tier 2 1-cost units, I don't level up. I don't ever level up, and then once you get to the Krugs level, which is stage 2, round 6 or something, I don't level up, and I just reroll, and it's really risky, but it's still fun. You use all of your gold, and you look for a tier 3 1-cost unit, and it's like probably a super risky strat, because if it doesn't work out, you lose all your passive interest. And it really sucks. But if it works out and you keep winning and snowballing,
it's really great.
You could be one of those players that, like, everybody's fighting, and then you're the only person who has 100 health, and you just win.
Yeah, and that's a good point to mention, because if you're at 8 out of 10 XP, right, I believe that what you mentioned is the Krugs level. So after the Krugs, a strategy that's very common is, like Mitchell was saying, if you're close to getting a tier 3 unit. First, let me take a step back and talk about leveling units. So if you combine 3 of the same unit, that makes a 2-star unit, right? So let's say 3 Tristanas, that combines and becomes 1 2-star Tristana. So they get a little bigger, they're stronger. So that's good. Let's say you find 3 more Tristanas, right? So now you have 2 2-star Tristanas, right? One on your bench, one in the field, or you could have both out depending on what you're doing. But then let's say you get 3 more Tristanas. Well, now you have 3 2-star Tristanas. They combine to form 1 3-star Tristana. And that's a big buff, right? Because they get a ton of stats with that. And so what Mitchell is talking about is that if you're close, somewhat close to getting a 3-star of something after the Krugs level, a legitimate strategy is to just keep re-rolling, and hopefully you'll find enough of that champion that you're looking for to get that 3-star, because that 3-star with an item can probably carry you through the mid game. And so it's a legitimate strategy to try. It's not something that you might want to do all the time, but it is something to think about. So if you need more info on that, you can probably Google it, YouTube it. It's all over the place, but it is a good strategy to have in your pocket. I got a question though, Mitchell, because you said that you like to sell your units. What happens though if you have a 3-star unit, but it doesn't necessarily fit the comp that you were trying to build? Like you have just a random 3-star whatever, but it's 3-star, but it does not fit. Are you willing to sell it for the sake of getting that comp?
Well, okay, so it depends where you are in the game, right? If it's down to you're in top 3, top 2, and at that point, the most important thing in the game are synergies, in my opinion. If you get to sell your it hurts, right? It hurts so much.
It does.
The whole game building this dude up, and buffing him up, giving him items, buying stuff for him. But you see that tier 5 Swain and it fits your comp better. Yeah, I think you sell it and you put the Swain in. It hurt. I've done it only a couple times and it has won me the game. It's like down to top 2 and like this other guy. Oh, I was winning the whole game and now he's beating me because the synergies are overwhelming me. I'm like, screw it. I see it's just a tier 1 5-star unit, right? Or 5. The names are so confusing.
It's just one.
Like,
a 1-star.
A level 1. Level 1 unit.
Level 1. There you go.
And then I got the shapeshifter bonus, and it's so worth it.
There it is.
I end up winning the game over it. So
it's a good point. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to weigh the cost there, Pooty. And what about you? Are you an early game economist, or do you save up for late game?
I've basically been experimenting with the same stuff Mitchell has. I've been playing. I think the strategy got popularized by Hafu when it was still on PvE.
Yeah.
And the reroll strategy is very interesting. And it used to be really consistent, but they changed the drop rates of stuff like today. So you have a 5% chance of rolling one tier 1 units less at level 4. So it means that this strategy is now less consistent than it used to be. Yeah. So if you're gonna do this, like make sure that you realize that it's a lot.
Or make sure you're close. I think make sure you're close to getting a 3-star.
I don't think you have to be like you didn't have to be before, but you have to like be very suddenly aware that you might still whiff the 3-star, but might still end up with like 4 2-stars.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So still a strong comp, which you can pivot later on into something stronger, but you have to be aware of the fact that if it whiffs, you're going out first.
They like you said, they reduce the chance that you'll get the lower costs, the lower like the one tier 1 units by quite a bit late game. So anything after like level 5, it's like 20 to 10% chance. So if you're really set on trying to get that 1 cost to 3-star, it's going to be
a lot harder later.
Your best bet to get it a little earlier. And okay, go ahead.
So after level 9, it's equal again, I believe. Let me just quickly check that to make sure I'm not.
Did you say level 9? I don't think I've ever reached a level 9.
Late in the top at level 9, the top it stays the same. It's the level for tier 1 is very. It's always going to be like less, but you still will still roll tier 1s.
Okay.
It's just,
All right. Question for all of you guys then, though. Go ahead, Nihal.
Well, I just wanted to mention because coming from if you actually have played auto chess, something that TFT does a little differently is that the 1 cost units actually do have a place in your late game comp a lot more than what they did in auto chess. In auto chess, there was like maybe 2 or 3 1 costs that you would ever keep in your last game comp. But in TFT, you can keep your 1 cost to the end of the game. And
Definitely.
like Mitchell said, there's like maybe a time where you'll sell it and replace it with like a Swain or something. But usually, almost every single comp you can build has like 1 to 2 free spots, which really nothing fits into it. So you just maybe do keep that level 3 Vayne or that level 3 Tristana or whatever else you have. But yeah,
exactly.
Like you said, there are a lot of situations where synergies, especially the higher ones, will be more important than a lower cost unit like a 1-star.
Yeah, good point. Okay, question for all of you guys. Anybody can jump in here. Let's talk a little bit as far as placing your units, right? So if you guys, again, you're brand new to this, when you have your champions, you also have to place them on the board, right? And so it's not just random. You want to put a little thought into placing your units, right, in the right places. So I want to get your guys' thoughts. Anybody can jump in here. Give us some tips on placing your units. How should our listeners think about placing their units when they have certain champions? Anybody can jump in here.
I think it's pretty like that's where there's a nice similarity to League. It's very similar to League. You want to have your tanks in the front line, so they take aggro first and they take a lot of damage. You want to have your ranged DPS in the back line, or at least in the second line, and then you want to have like supports somewhere in there too. And there's not a lot of supporting characters in TFT. I think there's like Lulu and a couple others, or I guess you can count like Braum and Leona similar.
Yeah.
But you want to have melee units up front because obviously they can't attack at a ranged, and usually melee units are your tanks. Not always, but usually. And then have your most highest DPS unit, which is usually like an 80 carry like Vayne, Tristana, or some sort of mage. You want to have them kind of like encased in all your other units.
Yeah.
Where you have, corner stratting seems to be very, very popular and seems to be very good. You kind of just put everything on one side, the right side and the left side, and have your 80 carry encased with units. It protects them from assassins. It protects them from ranged 80 carries on the other enemy team. It's kind of just like the safest place to put them. And it's hard to visualize this without actually looking at the board, but just kind of think of like, make an 80 carry sandwich. Have your tanks on the front.
I like that. A nice little cushion for our carries there. Yeah. But no, it's a good point. And I think that's what's nice. Knowing nothing about placements, I already had that general understanding just because of League, right? Yeah. And what's nice about it... And what's nice about it is like the champions on League that are annoying are also annoying in TFT as well. Like you got that Vayne that's just taking out everybody. You got that freaking Lucian dashing all over the place. Draven just one-shotting people. So there's a lot of Kale. Oh my gosh. You think it's so many good the Kindred ult when it comes out at the right time. Gnar ult. It's just so like when that happens, it's just really, it reminds you of League. And like these are game breaking things that happen in battle. So it does help, like, on the fact that you play League, the positioning will kind of come intuitively, and you'll find certain little things. Like you said, don't put the 80 carry all the way in the corner sometimes, because if they have an assassin, that assassin is going to jump to your 80 carry, just like in League, and wipe them out. So I like what you said, the carry sandwich, kind of encase them and protect them like a pillow. That's really good. Did you have anything else? Did any of you guys, Mitchell or Pooty, have anything else to add about positioning, placing?
I think one of the things to realize is like the like front to back placement isn't what you always want.
It's a good point.
Like, the assassin comes, for example, wanting more spread out comms, so they can maybe like sneak one into the backline of the opponent. And you should always also be looking at which corners your opponents are using, and depending on which comps you have, like say you have glacials, it might be better to be shorter range or shorter from your opponents than it would be to when you're playing like a Vayne with Rageblade or something. There's like you have to like kind of think like what do I want to do with my champions, and then kind of move from there when looking at positioning and experiment again. Like there's you might lose a game because you placed a unit wrong, but the next game you'll do it right.
And that's what's nice. You could just jump in a game just like that. And that's one other thing I also love about this compared to League is I could spam games quickly because you don't have to wait for champ select. You don't have to wait for any of that. You queue up, pops, and you're in the game. But I like what you mentioned because assassins do.
You can just
leave. You just leave. Yeah, you don't got to wait for the whole game.
Just exit.
I'm out of here. Yeah. Yep. So that's what's great about it. But yeah, so Pooty, what you were saying is absolutely true. You know, with assassins, they jump to the farthest unit away. So if you're playing an assassin comp, you definitely need to be a little more strategic. So that's something you need to think about. Also, I think things we forgot to mention is that some units give bonuses to things that are adjacent to them. Or whatever. So placement and items too. So make sure that, like, I know for Guardians, like, it'll give a bonus, I think, to everybody in that's adjacent to them. And then I know there's some items as well that can either put what do you call it? I don't want to say either buffs or I don't want to say curse is not the word, like debuffs on other like that are around, like to the enemy team. You know what I mean? So that's definitely something to watch out for. Anything else to add as far as positioning? Mitchell, do you have anything?
Just like a little, with the Assassins comp, I play a lot of Assassins personally. It's like I said earlier, it's pretty good early game if you can like mix it with like Knights or Wild or something, and then it's really strong late game. You're just like popping everybody. But I'm not sure if it's a bug. I'm pretty sure it's an actual thing, and I don't think it's going away. Like stuff like minion block and like champions, or not minion, like unit
I know
block.
you, yeah.
People, like, if you have all assassins, you put them all in one spot and they all jump to the back line, you'll have like maybe like 2 assassins just standing there doing nothing. So I don't know the full rules on that, but when you see that happen, it means you should put your assassin somewhere else. Because you don't want any of your units having like 0 downtime where they're not doing anything.
Good point.
That's really bad.
Nice.
Also, Kassadin is a very unique unit where he takes away your mana, right? Super high skill cap champion or unit or whatever. Because if you, in the late game or the mid game, if you can put your Kassadin to take away the mana from a very specific like unit so that they don't use their ultimate, it can be like game winning or game losing. So Kassadin is super high skill cap.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a very good point. And you'll find that as you learn some of the units, learn about placements because certain units do better with certain placements. So you're just going to have to, like what Pooty said, experiment. And don't be afraid to experiment because like you said, if you lose, you can just go on to the next game. Really easy. Another thing I wanted to throw out to you guys is as far as scouting the other opponents. This is one thing I still don't do as often because like with a lot of card games, I have a tendency to just focus on my comp and what I'm trying to build. And then I don't look at what other people's are trying to build and what items they're trying to get. And so one thing you could do is you can actually scout the rest of the players and look at what they're trying to build. That way you can get an idea of the comps they're doing. But I also think it also gives you an idea of, correct me if I'm right or wrong on this because I don't really know. But if somebody, like let's say you're trying to build up a vein, right? And you're trying to get a bunch of veins, but you look over and there's like 4 other people that are also building up veins. Does that lessen the vein champ pool? It does. So exactly. So that's why I just wanted to add that if you're trying to build something and you notice like 4 or 5 other people are also trying to build that something, you might want to consider that because the likelihood of you being able to get that champ is lower. So I want to throw it out there. You guys got any other things to talk about as far as scouting?
I mean, to quickly add to that, the way that works is there's a total, like per tier of champion, there's a total of, say for tier 1, there's 39 of each champion. And so if you're building a Garen, that's already occupying 9 of the Garens in the game in total, meaning that the other players will have a less chance of being shown a Garen at that point. So that means that it's not impossible at that point to like build a level 3 Garen yourself, but it will be significantly harder. And once you have a level 3 Garen, or there's 2 of them, and you try to build one, then it's going to be practically impossible.
Exactly. Good point.
TeamFight Tactics is the first one of these auto battlers to actually give us a concrete number of each champion in each tier.
That's cool.
How many numbers are there? The other ones we kind of have to guess. They're going to be subject to change, but it seems to be around 40 for tier 1s, 25 for tier 2, 21 for
Okay.
tier 3, 13 for tier 4, and 10 for tier 5. So that actually means that it's impossible to get a tier 3 5 if
Yeah.
anyone else has more than one. So not that you're very likely to get a tier 3 or a 3-star tier 5 anyway.
Yeah.
Never.
But
Never got
yeah,
one.
pretty much.
And that's something to consider too. If you're seeing a lot of a certain champion, that means nobody's probably building it. So
Yeah, you might want to take those.
yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
like if you were trying to go one route, but you're just not getting any of those kinds of champions, but you're seeing a certain, another kind, then maybe you need to switch strategies real quick because you're going to have an easier time building it. And the fact that you can get online, so to speak, with your comp faster than other people, even if it's not necessarily quote unquote the high tier comps, but if you can get something together, then that might be enough to get you the game, or at least pull you through the mid game and into late game where then you can maybe tweak things. But I really like that. That's very important. Well, what else? Do you guys got any other things to add as far as scouting?
There's a thing opposite to that, which is like, say you see a guy going for a Source of the Wild, and you think he's going to probably transition into Elliot,
Yeah.
and you just start buying all the events.
Yeah, I was gonna say
You don't get them then.
There's something even dirtier you can do.
Okay, what is this?
When you're going into the later carousels, if you in particular don't need anything, like you're not looking for a specific champion or item, scout out to what they're looking for, and if you can earlier pick, just steal their carousel.
Exactly.
It's the biggest dick move you can do.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
It's the best with
probably
friends
the best.
too. It's even more satisfying when you're with friends and Discord.
The easiest ones to look for are if somebody's building Noble, Kale is the 6th Infinity Stone. So taking that is
I
going
like
to
it.
deny them at least for a little while until they roll it naturally.
Yeah.
Glacial, Anivia is the 6th Glacial.
Yep.
Misfortune is the 4th Pirate. You don't really need her, but she is a good unit. And then
Yeah.
Karthus is Karthus garbage.
Freaking Karthus. Again, still frustrating in
Sweet's
Teamfight
pretty
Tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Exactly.
that's the cool thing about TFT. Most of the units have some use in most comps. There's a few useless units, but
Fiora.
there's definitely a
yeah.
but at least she does give Noble.
Yeah. That's true. Early
terms
game,
of
it's not that
scouting-
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of scouting, I definitely have a harder time looking at other people's boards, especially because coming from auto chess, they used to be on the bottom side of the board, so you can kind of just it's very easy to look at them. But for this, they decided to put them on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Which means that when you go to scout, you kind of have to like reverse it in your brain and figure to see what's on their bench sometimes. I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just something that they decided to do, but it personally makes it hard for me to go and scout, especially since like they kind of try to give you the illusion that all the boards are on the same map, but you can't actually scroll and look at them. You actually have to go down to the mini map and click on them because they're not actually on the same map. They're actually separate, separate things, and that's to help reduce strain on your PC. But it does make it a little harder for me personally to actually go and look at other people's things.
Yeah, because you used to be able to press tab in auto chess and you just go to other people's boards and just like spam.
That would be nice.
Yeah, you can actually just, you can just scroll up and look because they're all on the same map. But for this, it's a little different.
I got a high elo strat, super high elo strat. You guys ready? Right, so you're on the carousel, right? You've been losing every game, throwing on purpose, right? Like throwing on purpose.
Because it's strategy,
strategy. So what you do is, you don't know what you're doing. You're like, this game is doomed. My stuff is crap. So you go on the carousel and you just stand and then you try to like see what other people are going for and you just like follow right when they're about to get the item you want. You just get it, snag it right.
I love this. See, even in new game modes, you could still find ways to troll other people. I love it.
Yeah. And then if you have the avatar, then you just start dabbing.
So here's a question, because I don't actually know the answer to this. Is there a way to know who you'll be fighting next? No, right? Okay. Because I was going to say, like, sometimes, like, I mean, obviously when there's like one or two people left, it narrows it down a bit. But sometimes, it'd be helpful to know if like who you're fighting next so you can or maybe arrange things a little bit different. I know I've lost because I didn't know I was going to go up against an assassin team yet, and so like I just get worked that way. But I just wanted to know. So you heard it here, guys. At least as of now, there's no way to know who's up next. But I think that's all right.
And something that TFT hasn't fixed from the auto chess genre is that there's no guarantee you will not fight the same person twice.
I know.
I've had that happen multiple times. I don't know if it's in auto chess. It was gated to if somebody gets knocked out, then you have a chance to fight the same person again. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's gated the same way in TFT. I do think that they should remove that because if you're at like 60 HP and then you just fight the guy who has such a fucking insane comp that you'll get 30 damage in one round.
Yeah,
you should not have to fight that guy twice.
Exactly.
60 HP.
That's happened to me. Yeah, it's pretty. Pretty depressing.
I think it's the same person like 3 or 4 times in a row. Actually.
Really?
Yeah, I played against I had like a range comp. Other guy had an assassin comp. He was at the bottom of the standings. Hard countered my comp anyways.
Yeah.
Played him 4 times in a row, and I was back to below where he was.
Oh my!
And it worked out because I got
that feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can play against the same person a lot. Yeah, I think it's definitely something that Riot should consider changing. And we mentioned it on before. Item drops, drop rates probably need to be normalized. Some people can get 1 item from the neutrals. Other people
and see, I wouldn't mind if like everybody just got the same number of items, but they were just randomly different. Like that would feel a little better, I think, to me. But the fact that sometimes in the beginning, so guys, if you're listening to this, if you're first time, there's a chance you get items from like your NPCs, but there's also a chance you don't. And so the first 3 rounds first 2 rounds, you get items. Hopefully, is it three rounds first?
No, first it's 3. It's 3.
First 3. So first 3, you fight NPCs. So that's where you get items. But sometimes you don't get any, or you get 1. But sometimes you get like 3 or 4. And so if somebody, it feels bad when you get like 1 item and you're facing somebody who's already got like a full item on that. And so that's kind of where RNG gives it to you.
Quick question for you guys.
Sure.
If you've been playing, have you ever gotten an item to drop from the dragon, the first dragon, not the second dragon?
Yes.
Yeah, 1. Okay. Not all the time.
I feel like it. I've been watching a lot and I've been playing a lot, and whenever I get to the dragon and beat it, I never get an item, and most of my friends don't get items either.
Yeah.
I think like it's way too rare for such a late game.
You're talking about Infernal, right?
Yeah, the Infernal.
Yeah, Infernal Drake.
Yeah, not often though. Honestly, especially when it's like I almost lost to this dragon and it didn't even give me a freaking item.
I know, right?
Amazing. Whereas
you're like, this is a hard
Raptors.
yeah, I know.
The Raptors and they drop like 8 items.
I know, it's so because you have a chance with every Raptor. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, well let's do this then for the remainder of the show. Let's just talk about we don't need to get too in depth, but just some basic strong items and strong champs that people might want to look at when they're first time playing, because it's always nice to have somewhat of an idea. So let's start with items. Let's start with that first, because I feel like items are very important, and it's also important on who you put the items on, right? Because that can be a big deal. So anybody can throw it out there. What do you guys think is the most important item out there, or the highest tiered item, I guess?
Yeah, I think there's 2. Yeah, there's 2 main items that most people are going to be looking for in almost every single comp. Rageblade and Spear of Sojin. They synergize very well together, actually.
I agree.
So real quick, if you aren't familiar with the item system in the game, there's a great item, I guess you can call it cheat sheet, on the Blitz tab offers. It's blitz.gg/TFT/items. It gives you a fantastic page. If you're in chat, I'll link it. It gives you a fantastic page on what items combine into what, a brief description of what they all do. It's all on one page, so you don't have to like go in searching for it. It's
I'm
a great way
click
to
that
get
right now.
with them.
Nice.
I still use it, even though I kind of know what all the items do.
Yeah.
It's still very confusing to figure it out. But yeah, Spear of Sojin and Rageblade seem to be the most popular items right now. I do know that they said that they're going to look at Spear of Sojin again. They've actually already nerfed it, but I think they're going to nerf it again. Anything? Previously, I think it gave 20% mana per attack. Now it gives 15, and now I think they say, I think it's it's bugged, so there's some.
And you
problem
could
with it
stack
right
that,
now.
right? You could stack that,
Yeah,
right?
Every
every-
item is stackable. Yeah.
Okay.
Every
yeah.
item is stackable. I don't think there's any exceptions to that unless I'm missing something.
So double Rage Blade Vayne is busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rage Blade, any attack speed item, you're gonna really want to
Yeah.
put on some sort of ranged carry.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'll maybe want to put it on a Kassadin because Kassadin is very strong.
Yeah.
Or just some sort of melee carry. But most of the time, Rage Blade is very, very strong and ranged. The longer the battle goes on, the more powerful it gets because Rage Blade in this game does not have a cap. It just gives you
It just
a
keeps
certain
going.
amount of on speed,
Yeah.
on hit attack speed forever.
Yeah.
I haven't confirmed whether there's a cap for champion attack speed. It feels like there is, but I talked to one of my friends at Riot who works on the game mode, and he said that there wasn't, but I'm not sure if he was correct.
We need to test this.
Definitely yeah.
We need to test this.
I think once they release champion stats, it will be a lot easier to figure that out. Because right now you can't really see any of the stats of the champion other than their HP and mana.
Yeah,
But-
and you need to know ranges. Ranges are so important.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Units.
ranges, armor, starting AP if they have any magic resist,
Starting
attack speed. Yeah, starting mana. All of those things need to be added. DPS charts are going to be added too. But yeah, this is
good to know,
definitely
yeah.
it's a beta. So coming into this, there's going to be some problems. There's going to be some inconsistencies, but Riot's
Mhm.
working very hard to fix this. They're patching multiple times a week. They have a very dedicated team of which they pulled lots of people from every department. So you have probably one of the biggest teams at Riot right now working on
That's
this
really
game
cool.
mode, so
Yeah. That's
stick
good
with
to
it.
know.
If you like it, it's going to be very good.
And speaking of, since you mentioned Spear and Rageblade, so those components, right? Those are full items, right? But they're broken in by components. So components you're going to want to look for and prioritize are things like recurve bow, tier, BF sword. I think those, and of course spatula is always good because if you can combine that, those are good components to get. What would you guys say is next after that? Would you say maybe a needlessly large rod because that's what builds into Rageblade? So that's really good.
I would say the chain vest is really powerful.
Yeah,
chain
with
vest-
recurve.
Yeah, with recurve because Phantom Dancer is it's a situational item that seems to just be good any game actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. So one thing I want to clarify, or I want to get clarified for me, is does anyone really know how crits work? It seems like every
45%
champion
chance.
crits.
Yeah,
Every
25,
champion
25.
crits.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's so weird to me.
It is
weird.
Like it's so weird to have like a mage critting or something like that.
Yeah. That's
But
a
then
weird thing.
precision.
You put rapid fire cannon on your brand, and it's
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Get on
true.
the shorten.
Yeah,
or-
another thing to talk about items. You'll be putting items that don't really make sense. On
Exactly.
champions.
Yeah.
Like don't stick to the league idea where like
Unless you
oh
watch
well this
YouTube.
champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Morello's on
every-
Garen?
Yeah.
Or is it
Every
Morello's or
unit-
Ludens?
Yeah,
Morello's.
Morello's.
Yeah.
Every unit, their spell, and there's like one exception or very few exceptions to this. Every unit's spells do spell damage. So there's only two
Yeah.
types of damage. There's physical damage and spell damage. Physical damage is basically only for auto attacks and a few passives, and then
Yeah.
spell damage is
Durability.
Every
like
ult.
magic damage.
Yeah.
Basically every ult. So you'll have like Garen ult, it does spell damage.
Yep.
Or Garen spin does spell damage, or
Mhm.
like Pike E does spell damage for some
Yep.
reason. But
Nerf Pike, by the way, please nerf
Nerf
Pike.
Pike.
Yeah.
In every game.
Pike with double
think Nerf
spear
Spear
Sojin
Sojin
is
is
so
likely.
dumb, man. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so dumb.
I think probably nerf Pike and Spear Surgeon isn't too oppressive on other champions. It's just getting multiple AoE stuns in the early
Yeah.
game is like
It's really
I think they do need to focus on increasing the viability of other items.
Yeah.
Spear probably does need a nerf. But there's just a lot of items out there that I would
Exactly.
almost never build.
like Redemption and Locket.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, Redemption's really bad. I feel like GA is pretty much worthless.
Oh,
Yeah.
GA is worthless. But maybe it's because
yeah.
it's bugged. It feels bugged.
Would you guys agree that the weakest component is Negatron Cloak?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually really like
Yeah.
Megatron Cloak because it does build into Hurricane and
BT.
But is Hurricane good?
Bloodthirster. Hurricane's really good on certain ranged champions.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, pretty much ranged. Well, it apparently has a very funny interaction with Graves. To where it makes
yeah, that's crazy.
it makes his.
I'm just thinking about that right now.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't say it's like broken or anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't, unfortunately, and it doesn't proc synergies either, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah.
So it makes Hurricane a lot weaker. Considering how like valuable the spatula is, making a Hurricane, like it feels like you should just get the on hits.
Yeah, that's true.
I think spatula into Hurricane should only be used if you have no chance of getting another spatula, so you can't get the Force of Nature, or you can't you don't really need any of the other synergies, like you don't need a Blade Master or Assassin. Another thing I wanted to say, I don't think Negatronk's cloak is that weak because you do get the Claw of the Dragon from it if you get 2 of them.
That's pretty good.
And that's it's really insane. If you put one of those on like a Shyvana who's magic immune, she basically if you put it on top of not a Shyvana because you don't need magic immune.
Yeah.
In a dragon maybe, but not on the
Yeah.
it's only
put it on something that's tanky.
The debate there, though, is that it only is good in the later stages of the game. Like, because in the early stages of the game, you really are focused mostly on auto attacks. And, all the early game units like Wild, Assassin, and Knights and stuff, they all do physical damage mostly. So, the Negatron stuff is definitely like a late game. Like, it's probably king in the late game, actually.
Because there's a lot of ultimates that change the game, basically, or change the battle. Because you might think you're winning, and then all of a sudden, this guy's ultimate came out, and it just changes the course of the battle.
Really Soul or like
so I could see that. You make a good case for that, Nighthawk. I guess I never make it that far because
there's a great combo of Phantom Dancer and that. It makes units very hard to kill. If you put it on something like
I can see that.
One of your EDA carries, or like a Shyvana. They're basically immune to spells, mostly immune to spells, and then they're immune to crits. And crits make up a lot of the auto damage, especially if you have like backline units with increased crit damage.
Yeah.
So Phantom Dancer plus Claw of the Dragon equals very hard to kill units.
Also, if your opponent ever builds a Sword of the Divine, Phantom Dancer just makes them miss every
time. But rapid fire cannon counters Phantom Dancer. So learn about those counters. Yeah, exactly. Learn about those interactions because you might run into that sometime.
What do you guys think about hard counters like that? Because I feel like they're interesting, but when it happens, it feels really bad to play. Maybe it's like perfectly balanced, but I personally feel like if I get a Sword of the Divine and my opponent gets a Phantom Dancer and I can't get a rapid fire because everybody gets recurves, right? It feels really bad to play against.
I personally think that items are, I don't know, I guess this is just the way that Riot is balancing the game. I think items are far too powerful.
They are.
I feel like the game is a lot more about what items you can get than what champions you can get. And there still is a lot of importance focused on synergies and versions and stuff like that.
I think it's because items are so rare, right? It's hard to get those certain items and components. The components for the strong ones, at least.
When the entire item system is completely RNG, including the drop rate, it does feel bad. Like if your team gets wiped by a Draven with 3 crazy items, and then like even if you had a stronger comp than him, it's very hard to beat certain item combinations. Like Spears, like a very violent offender at the moment, and I don't expect this to stay this way for long, is double Spear of Sojin Pike. It pretty much is unbeatable except for by very certain comps like a glacial comp or maybe a demon comp. Kassadin perhaps if you get lucky. It's just so hard to beat certain champions with their items, so I do hope that instead of just normalizing items and making them like all OP, maybe Riot tones them down a little bit, but I don't know. Items do feel fun.
I also think though that like with your point to the counter thing is what makes it, I guess, not so OP is that you can't remove an item from somebody without selling them. So if you have a 3-star something and you want to counter it because you have the components to, for a PD or something, you'd have to sell it in order to do it. So I think that's one way it's not so broken. I mean, it's kind of like if you could, then maybe that's why you can't swap out items on a champ. So that's one thing for you guys to know is that if you have a item on a champion, the only way to get that item back is to sell that champion, basically destroy that champion that has it. So be very careful on who you place the items on because you can't remove them once you have them. So that's one thing to note as well. So
something I do with that is like if you have components on your like just sitting in your inventory, you like buy a unit, you combine an item onto that unit, and then you just sell the unit, and you have like the full complete item. So I do that a lot actually.
It's a good point.
Personally, I think with the items, instead of like Fandancer saying you're just immune to crits, maybe you take 50% damage from crits, something like that.
I mean,
you just have a chance.
Yeah.
You have a high chance to dodge crits.
Yeah, something like that. Because it really feels like, there's just this like, it just makes Sword of the Divine as
rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, it's a rock, paper, scissors thing.
Exactly.
Except Sword of the Divine is like,
honestly,
it's just bad.
I think honestly, even if Sword of the Divine wasn't countered by Fandancer, I just don't think it's that strong of an item. It just feels like the weakest recurve item.
Way too reliant on chances.
Like,
exactly.
Because the 5% doesn't stack up, right? It's just every second you have 5%.
It's just a flat 5%.
Yeah,
that's not that great.
It's really not that good.
Even if you're attacking super fast, it's still not that great.
Sure, I thought it stacked up.
I thought it did too, but then I looked it up. I looked up multiple people, and everyone said it doesn't stack. Like,
because I thought it stacked up because like the interaction that's sticking out in my head is I had a Sword of the Divine on like my hard carry. I think it was like an Ashe, and someone had a Phantom Dancer, right? And then this dude with the Phantom Dancer was just I missed like 100% of my attacks, and it was for like maybe like 10 seconds, like kind of ridiculous. I was hitting the same Phantom Dancer, and eventually
you could get in between.
So Sword of the Divine has a flat increased crit percent too, though. So you have all the crit items have a flat increase to crit as well. So it's Sword of the Divine has a 15% chance to crit on top of the plus 5%. And looking on the thing, it says each second the wearer has a 5% chance to gain 100% critical strike.
Right.
Worded oddly, but I don't think
I see. I get it. So
5% chance.
I just kept getting that 5% chance to always crit. Wait. Oh, okay. So it's just a double. Okay. So you have your 25% crit chance, and then you have another 5% to just also crit. That's so weird.
Yeah.
And
like
items like IE, they have each item has a lot of chance to crit. Like IE has a 40% chance to crit. So adding an IE to your AD carry will give it plus 40% chance on top of, I guess, the 25% chance that it already has. And if you add a Sword of the Divine,
really
on that site you posted, hover over.
I might have to test this now.
No, that's how much AD it gives. That's plus 40 AD.
Is that AD? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because the double BF sword combines to give 20 AD. Like, look at the BF sword; it's the same icon.
Well, what's the
Sword of the Divine is
attack speed? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. So did no items give crit chance?
No, there's no modification to crit chance. Nope.
Huh. Okay.
Look, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think
take out crit chance.
Yeah, I think they're, and the items are so finicky. It's like you got to read those wordings carefully because otherwise it could really mess with you. If you think it's one thing and it's not. What do you want to say, Pooty?
Now that we're talking about reading wording properly, make sure that you right click on your champions to read their abilities because there's sometimes interactions in there that you hadn't thought about. Ganon is immune to magic damage when he spins.
Yeah, like Juggernaut.
Yeah,
but I didn't notice it today. That's a really important thing.
That's right. Just read everything, guys.
So the reason I thought that items gave crit chances is because I've run into that thing too, Mitchell, where you have somebody against a Phantom Dancer and legit every auto misses. And I'm like, how is this possible? This isn't. That's not 25%. That's got to be.
We need the stats, Riot.
I
need the stats.
Yeah,
tell your friend at Riot there, Nighthawk, that we need We need information right now. Hey,
I'm pretty sure they're working like insane hours to just make this mode
Good. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's all right. Hey guys, let's move on to the final thing I want to talk about, which is champion tiers now. So just OP champs, or not even OP, but strong champs, early, mid, and late. Okay, so because there's going to be stronger champs in each phase of the game. So let me get your thoughts on early game strengths. Let's start there first. Who should people try to get? Mitchell, I know you're ready. You're ready. Who is it? Who's on your list?
I would say for tier 1s, Garen, we mentioned it before. He's really, really strong. Does AoE damage and immune to magic when he's ulting, just super strong. Also, Pike, just super good. You stick some items on him. Yeah, you can get Spear Sojin, but honestly, you get some attack speed on him too, just so he can crit faster. It's pretty decent. Oh, an item we didn't mention that's actually really powerful is Titanic Hydra.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yep,
very
super good item. So Pike and Garen, those are my 2 early game units that I always try to look for, and so does everybody else. So it makes it harder too, though. So,
yeah. Okay.
I'm a big fan of early game Nidalee and Warwick. They both have wild synergy, so it's an easy way to get wild early.
Yep.
And they both, I think Nidalee is very strong in general. So Warwick's not the best, but he's a brawler, so you can combo him with like a Rek'Sai or something else and get some extra HP.
Definitely.
Other than that, yeah, Pike obviously is insane, but I do think it will get nerfed, so not too long. Blitzcrank's not bad. Blitzcrank's like a very situational champion. He gets his hook as an ability, and he always hooks the furthest away champion.
Yeah.
So if
that's messed me up a couple times.
Yeah, if you can position him to where he hooks the AD carry every time, it's very useful for like finding that guy in the back line who's a 3-star Tristana or something like that, and just pulling them into your comp so you can kill them.
Yeah. Okay.
He can be very useful.
Okay, I want to ask: have you ever seen a fully decked out Blitzcrank?
Yeah.
Blitzcrank
is insane.
It's so funny. They hook the ADC and instantly kill them.
That feels like AP Blitzcrank.
It does 800 damage. I think it does like 800 damage late game or something like that. Maybe even more now.
It's so funny.
That's hilarious.
And he gets to, I mean, like his origin is robot, so he instantly starts with mana. So he'll always pull right away. And if you give him spell damage or Spear Sojin or attack speed, he gets his ult back so fast that he'll just be pulling people all the time.
I might have to try
this. I do feel like it's really hard to find Blitzcrank, though. I feel like I don't roll him as often as
me neither. It's a good one. Okay, what about you, Pooty? Who's your early game?
For early game, just grab all the things you can. It's one of the most contested units, but it's a very easy unit. And if you do get 3-star of it, it's probably an easy carry until late game.
Definitely 3-star. Yep.
And I think I personally really like Darius. He's if he gets a couple of heals off in a fight, he's very, very strong.
He's just like in game with Darius, because it's just like in game. You think you're gonna kill him, and then he does his spin thing, and then he heals up again. You're like, oh great, like never mind.
Darius fits into an Imperial comp too, which can be insane late game if you can get all.
If you get, I mean, even just him and Draven, like is gonna be like doing some crazy DPS.
Katarina. If she gets the double damage, she fucking wipes teams. It's insane.
It's and it's funny because that's exactly what she does in the game. If she gets it all, it's just like, okay, this feels about right. Like Katarina ulted, great. All right, what about, let's go to the mid game. Who you thinking for as far as tier 2 units, tier 3 units that you guys are? I mean, I guess this is all going to depend now on your comps, right? So maybe this is more of a meta thing. But maybe it's more of a meta thing. Who do you think is strong at the moment? As far as tier 2 into that mid game.
Tier 2 or tier 2 and 3?
Yeah, tier 2 and 3. Kind of
tier 3-ish,
I'm a huge fan of Ashe and Shyvana.
I was gonna say Ashe, Shyvana.
Yeah, Ashe fits into Glacial right now very well, and she's basically the keystone of the Glacial comp, which is very strong.
With
Shyvana, I like a lot too.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Ashe is insane. I like Shyvana a lot. I think she's a little underrated. She's a shapeshifter, which fits in.
She's good. Yeah, I like her.
Yeah, she's very strong. Other than that, I feel like a lot of the 2 and 3 costs are kind of weak. Cannon's pretty good. Like we said, Katarina can be good in certain situations. Lulu fits into
anti-assassins. Morgana is really good as anti-assassin too.
That's good.
So what makes her good at being anti-assassin?
So if you stack her on items, like you give her a bunch of mana, as soon as the assassins jump in and she ults really fast, she does a lot of like damage instantly. And if she gets her stun off, you can wipe the assassins super quickly. But
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. But you have to stack the Morgana. If she has no mana items, she's pretty trash.
Yeah, I feel like she has a hard time getting mana because her ult costs a lot.
Yeah. So you got to stack her with mana items, but when it happens, it's like a hard counter to assassin. Pretty good.
Nice.
I've seen
That's
it.
pretty cool.
And then, yeah, you can put like frozen art on her and stuff, and it's like
yeah, that's nice. Okay, what do you got? What else you guys got? You guys got anything, Mitchell Pooty?
For like mid game, I would say one thing you can look out for now. It got buffed yesterday. Is the Yordles. Yordles seem.
I've been trying a little more Yordles. I like the Yordle comp.
Yeah,
is there a place I can look up patches?
No, it's you have to follow the developers on Twitter mainly.
Just like everything with the game, you have to go to outside places to find out the information.
I really wish there was like a dedicated patch note site that I could go and look at.
Come on, Riot, you got a whole team on this. Let's
go.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's good. Now, would you consider like Sej, Braum, Volibear, would you consider that next tier? I can't remember the cost. Is that 4 and 5?
Well, four cost is like late game, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go into late game unless you got any other mid game champs to look out for. Anything else?
Pretty much any unit is good as long as it has the right synergies that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So don't like shy away from Braum or Volibear or something like that just because they aren't that good as individual units.
I would say. Yeah. I would say the worst ones are definitely, to me anyways, like Fiora, Rek'Sai, and Evelyn.
Fiora's are awful. Yeah, Rek'Sai's pretty bad.
Evelyn, I can agree.
Lissandra's pretty bad. Evelyn's pretty bad. Elise is pretty bad.
Mordekaiser's pretty mediocre. Oh, Elise is pretty bad.
Mordekaiser's awful.
Yeah. Elise is bad, yeah. Maybe we should have just done it the other way around because I could really there's so many options. Just stay away from the champs we just mentioned. You get the chance that if you get anybody else, you can fit it into somewhere, but the champs we just mentioned, probably want to stay away from that. But let's move on to the later game ones now. Off the top of my head, Asol is really good.
The cool thing about the forecast is that there's pretty much none of them that are bad.
That's true.
Every forecast has a really strong synergy attached to them. Cho'Gath is
Gnar.
insane.
Cho'Gath, Gnar. Oh my gosh.
Gnar is absolutely insanely broken.
I love Gnar. Yeah, and Shapeshifter.
Draven has his time to shine. Sejuani is insane. Her ult is ridiculous. Akali, actually, I'm not a huge fan of her, but I know people do like her.
If you can build her, only an assassin, I think. Yeah.
Aurelion Sol obviously has an insane game-winning ability.
Oh yeah.
Same with Brand. I think Brand and Aurelion Sol are both very comparable. And then Kindred has destroyed me so many times just because of how annoying her ult is.
Hey, it's like the Kindred ult, man. Yeah.
I think if you had to pick like the most mediocre forecast, it'd probably be Leona, and even then she's not bad because her ult stuns
her ult stuns forever.
She's only good in exactly Noble Guardian, so
yeah, she's a noble too, which fits into the noble comp well.
That's true. Okay.
And, the Guardian buff, I think Guardian buff is a little underappreciated. I think it's pretty good.
I like it. I actually played it a couple times. Plus, it only takes 2, to get it. So
it only takes nice. You can't tell though. it's a very hidden sort of buff.
I think that's more about placement though. Like if you place it properly.
By the way, the Guardian buff does stack. So if you place Leona and Braum next to each other, units gain 80 armor instead of 40. So that's pretty important.
You stick on your Volibear, you stack your Volibear just crits everything.
I love it.
And then you give the Volibear like the Claw of Magic immunity.
Oh my gosh,
it's insanely tanky.
Claw of Magic immunity, Phantom Dancer, ADMR, you just
Yep.
Yeah.
It's great. All right, what about late game late game units? What's your faves? What do you think's strong?
5.
And this is this is a little rarer to me because this is when there's like maybe 2-3 people. I don't make it here this often. I gotta be honest.
I really enjoy. I think Swain is absolutely ridiculously insane.
Yeah,
I think
Swain's good.
Amazing. Kayle can win fights really easily just because of her ult, especially a level 2 Kayle.
Oh my gosh!
I think level 2 Kayle ult's like 3 people or 2 people.
It's so busted.
So and she gains mana back really quickly, so she's very strong. Anivia, I think her ult is too small. I think they need to make it bigger, and then she'd be okay.
Yeah,
She's not bad.
I mean, for a 5 cost, I feel like she kind of sucks.
Yeah, for a 5 cost, I think she either could be a 4 cost or they could make her all 1 hex bigger.
Her synergies are really good. So.
Yeah, her synergies are really good. Glacial's insane.
Yeah.
Elementus is pretty good.
I would say
Yasuo. I feel like Yasuo is just one of those units you can kind of fit into any comp as long as you have a free space.
Put him
Just put him in somewhere.
Yep.
If you don't have a free space, don't put him in because he's kind of bad.
Pre-nerf, he was OP. You stack mana.
Pre-nerf.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Also, Karthus is trash. Holy crap, Karthus is bad.
I think Karthus is. I think if you can get him to ult in a sorcerer comp, like a 6 sorcerer comp, even though that's not really a thing, you can just destroy people. He's very niche.
But can we get to that? Yeah, he's very niche.
Yeah, it's hard. I think you'd rather have like a brand or a Reliant Soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Misfortune is very easy to slot into gunslingers because she's a pirate gunslinger, and there's 2 other pirate gunslingers. So you can legitimately build 3 out of 4 gunslingers.
Yeah, her ult is pretty damn good. If you
and got buffed.
Does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Dude, she can move while ulting. It's so funny looking.
Oh my god.
It does a lot of damage, and it also only costs 75 mana, so it's very easy to charge.
Yep.
Nice.
She can move.
Cool.
You can see the ult like fucking curving bullets and stuff.
I haven't seen that yet, but I don't play a lot of.
I have to check that out. All right. Well, that sounds like a lot of good info. I mean, I think we've covered pretty much all the basics. Is there anything else before we end the show that anything else that you want to add?
I want to say favorite comps. I already said mine. My favorite comp by far is definitely. I have 2. It's either Wild Assassins or Wild Shapeshifter and anything.
Yeah. Wild Shapeshifter Sorcerer is really insane.
Yeah.
One of my favorite combinations is putting Spear of Sojin Rageblade and then either another spear or something on Lulu, because level 2 and level 3 Lulu gives so much insane. You'll have her ulting every 2 seconds, and it will just be up we go.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And
That's
not only
great.
does it knock up everything around the unit that she ults, it gives them like 600 extra HP.
Yeah.
So it can legitimately just like destroy people.
It scales on spell damage too. So.
Yeah.
Does it really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually insane then.
For me, it's Imperial Assassins. It's really hard to pull off, but even with the assassin buff, it's just absolutely insane.
Oh yes,
it's so insane.
That's awesome.
Holy crap!
Actually, one shot wonders.
I think No, go ahead, Nighthawk.
I haven't had a really good chance to get like the cheating synergies out. Like I've never had a situation where I'm like, this guy, if I make this guy an assassin or if I make this guy a blade dancer, it's going to be insane. I haven't really. The best I had was when I made my Tristana a blade master in a gunslinger comp. So I had 3 blade master and 4 gunslinger. So they were auto attacking everything twice.
Oh man, that's good.
But other than that, I haven't really had a chance to do that yet.
Well, I think what you can gather from our discussion here is that there is a lot of fun stuff to try out. And I think that's part of what is making this game so fun, especially right now, because there's so many things to explore. You literally, try things out, but we've kind of given you a basis of things to maybe look towards. You can always try your own thing, but from our experience of all the hours we put in so far, I think we've kind of given you a good foundation to get started. I highly recommend trying it out at least once, at least to do it when you're tilted on regular League. Just take a break, play a couple of games here, and then then you go back to grinding on League. But hey, I want to thank my co-host so much, Nighthawk, Mitchell, Pooty. Thank you for being here. We're gonna have more episodes. We're gonna be talking about more tier lists, more comps as the game progresses. But this is an exciting chapter in Riot Games history, so I look forward to more episodes to come. Hey, if you guys got any questions, feel free to email us at theallinpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at theallinpodcast. Hey, until next time, guys, enjoy your climb on the rift. Try not to get too toxic, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.